All right, welcome so much to our mindfulness class today. As y'all know, my name is Lisa, and we have another Lisa here today. Lisa Ware's passion is to create community connecting women to their goddess tribe and to empower each woman and man to become their best version of me that they can be. Her platform is sharing holistic health, wealth, freedom, and a yogic-based lifestyle with the world. She has been mindfully eating since 1996. Oh, I guess you don't want to buy Girl Scout cookies from me. And practicing yoga since the early 90s. She is a yoga teacher with over 8,000 hours of teaching and is currently director of her online yoga school for 200 and 300-hour trainees. She owns and operates a local studio and goddess retreats in Texas and adventure retreats in Hawaii. She conducts and teaches at yoga and holistic festivals and conferences on various topics, including Reiki. Did I say that right? Reiki, great. As a master teacher, yoga, asana, clean eating, arrow and partner yoga, and Thai yoga massage with her husband, Richard. So thank you for coming, and thank you to Lisa for coming.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate that. Thank you. I really appreciate y'all for coming. And we're going to get started with a little bit of information. I'm going to just tell you a little bit about the recommended reading for this course. And I'm not sure which books we have, but next week we'll have some of the books pulled out of the library. And also, Lisa is going to be kind enough to conglomerate a list of where you can find some of these books. So I have several recommendations. Eat Right for Your Type, The Magic by Rhonda Byrne, The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz, The 0 Point by Joe Vitale, What to Say When You Talk to Yourself by Shad Helmstetter, The Healing Power of Trees by Sharon Hidalgo, The Healing Power of Water by Dr. Masuro Emoto, The Earth Speaks by Steve Van Meter and Bill Wheeler, The Simple Living Guide by Jana Lures, Your Body Speaks, Your Body Heals by Humbart Smokey Santillo, natural doctor. And then I also recommend viewing a documentary called Walk With Me it's on the life of Thich Nhat Hanh, and The Secret, and also Eat, Pray, Love. So those are just kind of a conglomeration. I know that was a super fast list, but I do have handouts for you, which I will upload to my website, so you can download that. And I'll just move to the next slide here. So my website's yogaforlove.com. You're welcome to go onto the blog. We have a ton of information on there for you at no charge. There's audio classes, video classes. I have a link to my YouTube channel, Lisa Ware Yoga for Love, and we have online video classes for you. We're actually in the midst of doing a live broadcast on Saturday mornings on beginners yoga. So you can catch up with the week one, and then you can join us live on Saturdays for the next 4 weeks on our YouTube channel. There's also on our blog, I have several workshops from this year. We have a New Year's vision board and one-word affirmation creation, which was a really fun workshop. And then we also have up there it's a dream life notebook workshop on how to create roles and just kind of work with those roles in your life, creating priorities around the roles and relationships in your life that you're passionate about. So those are some workshops that you can just do. Those are free on my blog. So I just wanted to share with you a couple notes here. First of all, your body is a temple. And be a student of your body. So what that means is just to really always be examining, always be searching and seeking. Try some elimination guidelines in your diet. And finding your 80-10-10 balance to be your best, which means 80% of the time you're sticking on that, where you feel really, really, really good. You know what works for you. 10% off, you stray just a little bit, and then the other 10%, you just let it go, and you don't really have to stress about it. The word cheat is not in my vocabulary anymore for food. So when you have that balanced 80-20, you don't have to ever have a cheat day because it's built in, and then you reset. So the thing about that is that a lot of people feel like once they kind of go off the wagon, then all of a sudden, I'm going to start next week. I'm going to start next week. I'm going to start next Monday. And that Monday actually never really comes because you haven't built it into your lifestyle. So we're talking a lot today about lifestyle, about whole food, clean eating, yoga, meditation, and those are lots of tools that some of you may have practiced maybe a long time, and some of you are my elders, so I'm honored you're here. You may have some wisdom to share with us at the end of the class. And so, as I was mentioning, as some of our guests were walking in, that you may have something to share, and we would love to conglomerate any of your resources. We're going to create a group resource list at the end of the 3 weeks, so we'll have that as a handout, and we'll be able to have those kind of shared resources amongst us, because as you guys were mentioning, you have the University, was it the University of Berkeley or UCLA that you utilize. So, there's lots of great things that I've never even been on that website to find. So I'd love to conglomerate some of these things that you guys might have found over the course of your practices, and then we'll also share all those lists. So the last part of this, as I kind of begin to get into the meat of this structure, or I should say the veggies, since I'm a vegetarian, of this structure, would be feeling your best and living your best. And would you not agree that's how we want to live, right? We all desire to live that. And so I'm just going to share with you a few things in my short 45 years that I've discovered that have worked based on a lot of research on older topics, lots of books and different resources of ancient wisdoms as well that I'll be referencing. And so here we have a little quote. Sometimes your joy is the source of your smile, but sometimes your smile can be the source of your joy. So there's another quote that I really like, and this one is from Thich Nhat Hanh. But another quote that I really like too, which is a much more modern quote, was from Mary Kay Ash. And she says, fake it till you make it. And what she means is just when you have a smile, and there's actually research that if you smile for 60 to 120 seconds, fake smile all the way, just totally cheese it up. It may feel really uncomfortable, especially when you're in a bad mood, you just, your facial muscles all cramp up. If you smile for 60 to 120 seconds, then all of a sudden everything that's rewired in your face taps into your brain, and then all of a sudden your brain is like, oh, I'm happy, I'm happier, I feel better. You really do feel better. So just a simple smile. My husband posted the other day on his Facebook, it was 12 noon, and he said, I've already made 25 people smile today. I mean, what a cool thing. I was like, oh, that's the man I married. I'm so proud of him. That is super cool. So he goes through his day as he goes through his work, and he just smiles at people and looks just for a smile. And that might be the only smile that somebody gets that day. Yes?
I recently read a research study. They took people who had suffered from manic depressive, the bipolar, and they had them do that, just smile for a set amount of time, and they said that it was as effective as drugs.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, that is wonderful. If you could find a link to that, wherever you found it, that is a really powerful statement. And to find that research behind it too is what I'm interested in, because that is something that's very, very powerful, but yet, we have an opioid addiction in this country. And this, it's very, very hard to teach when someone is consistently having to depend on something. So to teach these mindfulness things, those simple things that trigger the actual chemical releases in our brain, so our brain does not have to be dependent on an opioid or on another drug to make those things, those synapses happen in our brain. So mindfulness, I'm going to just read to you kind of the Wikipedia definition. Now, we all know Wikipedia is always fact, right? But this is the most current version of the Wikipedia. If those of you don't know this, but Wikipedia is run by millions of volunteers. And so you could upload something and it could be totally false, and until they catch it, it'll be up there for a couple days. So, but this is a really good, accurate description. Mindfulness is the psychological process of bringing one's attention to experiences occurring in the present moment, which can be developed through the practice of meditation and other training. The term mindfulness is a translation of the Pali term sati, which is a significant element of Buddhist traditions. And in Buddhist teachings, mindfulness is utilized to develop self-knowledge and wisdom that gradually lead to what is described as enlightenment, or the complete freedom from suffering. Studies have shown that worry and rumination, which is the focused attention on the symptoms of one's distress, combine to contribute to mental illness such as depression and anxiety. Mindfulness-based interventions are effective in the reduction of both rumination and worry. So what is mindfulness?
Mindfulness is a state of active, open attention on the present. It's when you're mindful, you carefully observe your thoughts, your feelings, without judging them, good or bad. So in yoga, we call this being in the place of the observer. How many of you have ever practiced that? Just detaching from being in the moment and stepping out and looking at yourself objectively. So that's what that means. Instead of letting your life pass you by, mindfulness means living in the present moment. It is awakening to this now moment, rather than dwelling on the past or anticipating the future. So, to continue, examining our nutritional choices through a lens of mindfulness is what I'd like to speak to next. This is how yogic philosophy will apply to clean eating. So, I do have a handout on this one, and I will put it up here if you'd like to follow along. I can exit out of here. Okay, here we go. Okay. So here's our recommended reading list that you are going to get a handout on. So how does yogic philosophy apply to mindful eating? Examining our nutritional choices through a lens of mindfulness. So that's kind of where you start, and becoming more aware and empowered. When there's a balance in all areas of our life, we're nurturing our whole entire being, spiritual, physical, emotional. And then when we're eating whole plant food-based foods, we're getting enough physical activity. We're managing our stress. We are nourishing our deepest self. One of the cornerstones of the yogic nutrition is mindful eating. So just thinking about mindful eating, meaning that, you're looking to slow down, you're paying attention to what's happening, you're focusing on the sensations that are occurring when you eat. And so I remember my grandmother, and we always were like, gosh, she eats so slow. Being a kid, you're like, oh, we're always waiting on Nana to finish eating before we can go somewhere. So she was a mindful eater. And I learned so much from my Nana just about eating. She had a plate that looked literally like, if you go to the food.gov or whatever that website is where you have the plate, that is what she would have. And she would have mostly vegetables. She would have a very tiny portion of dairy, if any. She would have maybe a tiny portion of meat, if any. She ate literally like you're supposed to eat, and she also chewed her food. She had all colors of the rainbow on her plate. Did your mom do the same thing? Good for you. That's awesome. And even as a kid, kids get really impatient because they're like, oh, I want to go. We were getting ready to go to the zoo. Come on, Nana, why are you taking so long? Come on, let's go. So when you're mindfully eating, you're not thinking about what's happening next, what's coming up, and what you're about to do. You're just enjoying the textures of your food. You're noticing what's occurring when you eat, and asking yourself, am I a fast eater? Do I savor every bite? Do I zone out and eat in front of the TV, or do I eat in the car? What guides our choices? So, we can have a nice discussion about our choices, but I know that we're pretty much all on the same page because we're here to learn about being mindful. And so mindful eating is a type of meditation. It's bringing our awareness to the present moment, because what we're doing right there is eating. So if we're eating and we're checking 14 emails and slamming down a sandwich, the intention of what we're trying to do is process and assimilate nutrition, yet our mind is on Google, so we're disconnected already right there. So it's being present, reminding ourselves to slow down. Let's scroll down here. Eating with all of our senses. Have you ever practiced that? There is a tantric practice that you practice eating with your senses. And so when you practice that, you mindfully pay attention to the textures, and you pay attention to the colors and the smells of the food, and the subtle and the more deeper tastes. So how we eat is very, very important. It's actually almost as important as what we eat. So mindful eating is an excellent tool for those who struggle with overeating. Now, if you choose to go to Krispy Kreme or Dunkin' Donuts and get a donut, don't slam it down and be like, oh, I gotta hurry up because I feel guilty. Why bother going if you're gonna eat your donut and be guilty? Go ahead and enjoy it. You chose to go to Krispy Kreme. You might as well enjoy the aroma and watch the donuts cooking and watch the frosting being put on them and enjoy your donut. Don't go eat 6 of them, but enjoy the donut that you do have and really feel it and taste it. And you know, if you don't like it again, maybe you're like, kind of built that up and it really wasn't that good. And that happens sometimes too when you're mindfully eating instead of chugging down a donut or a cookie, thinking, oh, this was a lot better than I thought, or this was not really as good as I thought it was going to be. So maybe the next time you have a craving, you can think, I mindfully ate my donut last time and it was really greasy, and I kind of made my tummy ill afterwards. So I kind of canceled out the craving for that kind of thing because I noticed what happens immediately thereafter. So by building awareness, we're able to shift our internal environment. So I was able to create a new habit where, okay, well, I thought donuts were good, but donuts are really built up to be good because society says they're good, and actually, they're really not, So you can kind of make those associations once you're mindful. We often discover how our emotions affect our food choices. So the SAD, the Standard American Diet, which I think is the funniest acronym in the world, actually, because our Standard American Diet is very sad. It is very sad. Our food is toxic. It's full of processed foods. It's sugar-laden. We have to really be conscious to be healthy in our society. We don't live, like the Mayans lived and, eat fresh grain and, whole foods and fresh fish and stuff like that every single meal of every single day. So with the repercussions of mindless eating are more than just physical. They actually affect all aspects of our being. They really do. So mindful eating is like yoga. It's a practice of compassion, self-compassion, what we call metta, and observation. And that's self-observation. What's our desire for sugar all about, for example? Do we just go mindfully, chugging through a box of cookies or, chugging through a big old 2-liter of Mountain Dew? Just don't know why, just because I've done it for 10 years and I always do that, or I always have M&Ms on my desk. I just eat them all the time, Why? Have you ever stopped and thought, where is this coming from? Why do I crave sugar? What kind of processes happen when my body has sugar? Do I gain more energy? Do I, feel like, what happens? Do I all of a sudden get more work production done because I'm eating M&Ms all day? I don't know. So what is that? And then is this a reflection of a deeper need? So these are some questions we could ask ourselves. So here, digestion plays a very important part in mindful eating. And when we're stressed, our digestion gets out of sync. So I have a coach for my brain, and he says when you're stressed, the oxygen flow to your brain actually shuts off. And sometimes it doesn't recover for almost 2 days, maybe 3 days. So you're literally operating on just a percentage of your brain. So if my Mac was over here and it was at 1%, it's going full force. But when it crashes, it is crashing. But this is different because when you're operating this cloud of constant anxiety and your adrenals are constantly flooding your body and you're in this constant state of fight or flight, your brain is not at 100%. And even if you think you're feeling like you're running at full capacity, and then you see how long or how difficult a certain process was that should have been really easy, or you see somebody like posting that they did all this stuff in one day on Facebook, and then you're like, how do they even fit all that in? Maybe we're not operating at our full capacity because of what our choices are. Maybe our brain is clouded, so just some things to think about. So stress can promote weight gain. Many people turn to food when they're stressed. The choices that we make are often not healthy, of course, when we're stressed out. So we kind of revert to comfort foods and those what we call samskars, and the little pathways, the neural pathways in the brain that deepen over time. And these samskars tend to be like a record, and you're kind of going around that vinyl record, then you hit that and you skip, and you're totally off track. So every time you hit that, you're skipping, And we need to do mindful exercises that repair. The beauty of it is that the brain is neuroplasticity. It has the ability to completely heal all those grooves if we do the practices. But it doesn't happen overnight because those grooves didn't get there overnight. So we need to do consistent practices more and more and more that replace the old ones to create those new grooves in the brain. So yoga can help. The good thing is, let's scroll down here. So the physical asana, the posture, the practice, this asana is the practice part. That is what most Westerners view as yoga, but that's one of the 4 limbs of yoga. One of the 8 limbs of yoga. It's only the 4th limb. There is 7 other limbs of yoga. So this part, the asana practice, can combine the alleviation of digestive ailments. So think about how yoga tones the musculature of the digestive system. Think about when you do a detoxifying twist or you do core strengthening. So these things are helping us on our path toward being more mindful because we're creating that environment where we can actually alleviate the stress. The power of mindful eating helps us to tap in and listen to our body. How we fuel our body in the present moment is so important. And the foods that we consume, the intention with which we approach their consumption are the 2 main things that are very, very important. So there's a little quote here at the end from Annie BK, which is Kripalu's lead yoga teacher, or lead nutrition teacher. And she says, take time to eat, to be mindful and to pay attention. Be fully aware of the experience of the tastes, textures, and colors that you're having on your plate. So does anyone have any conversation about that before we move on to our next topic? Okay, yes.
I always try to eat the right kind of food. I've got a book called House, or which one is Health Guru, way back there.
Okay.
And I've never been mindful of all this. Eat good food, but really, I enjoy it for them eating the right kind of food.
Right. But just to really focus on the taste, the textures. Try it. It's an exercise. It's a very sensual exercise because food is a sensual enjoyment. Our Creator created food to be enjoyed. And so that's really interesting that, even though you are making very good food choices and you've been eating healthfully, to have that perspective, like all of a sudden now your awareness is there.
Over the years, I've changed. Like what he put in his book. Anytime I hear something that's healthy, I try to focus on that, think about that. And if I feel like it's good for me, I'll add it to my diet.
Okay, good.
But,
so now that you have the repertoire.
Over the years.
Yeah, and it does. It shifts, and a lot of those trends are fads. Yeah, there's a lot of conflicting information out there. You're absolutely correct. And so I'm going to help kind of navigate you through some of that as far as question and answers at the end as well. So there's food trends. There was the fat-free trend, and then we noticed, oh, wait a second, we need healthy fats. Our brains are starving. We need to feed all of our whole entire endocrine system runs on healthy fats. We need omegas and those kind of things. So there's lots of bad things out there that the media puts out there that, remember when all those zero-fat potato chips came out and people would eat a bag of them and then they'd be on the toilet? You're like, that can't be good. There's something going on there where if I don't have any calories. Well, yeah, because there's absolutely no absorption going on in your colon. Hello, that's kind of a red flag if you're on the toilet afterwards. So now that you're making those shifts, just kind of in summary, you have the tools that you need. You have the food in your pantry. You have the knowledge to what to prepare. So now just making that shift in when you sit to eat, to be mindful of what's on your plate.
I think a lot of fruits, berries, and nuts and things like that in the morning, but I'm rushing through it.
Right. So maybe wake up 10 minutes earlier, or just take something out of your schedule in the morning that gives you a little 10-minute break, where you can actually enjoy those berries and you can enjoy the fruit instead of, picking through them while you're doing other stuff, which is sometimes what we have to do in life. But sometimes one of those meals maybe can be a mindful meal.
But I'm enjoying it because I feel like I'm putting the right kind of stuff in.
Yes, and that is huge. That is huge. Like we mentioned earlier, the mindfulness part and then the nutrition part go hand in hand, and you can't have one without the other. You know, and you can, like I said, you can mindfully eat a donut too, but it's not gonna give you the nutrition side. So if you're mindfully eating your berries and your fruits and your veggies, as you do, you're gonna receive a lot more than just nourishment from it.
You know, I made a joke about Girl Scout cookies earlier.
Uh-huh.
And over the last few months, I've really been trying to eliminate sugar and eat, not eat processed foods. And it's been great, but when my daughter got her Girl Scout cookies, of course I caved.
Right,
We had all
right.
these cookies in our house. But then a couple days later, I woke up with the worst headache. And I was like, oh my goodness,
Interesting.
I haven't had a headache in months. It must be the sugar.
Yeah.
And it was such a simple connection for me.
It
And
is.
So, I mean, like,
It is.
you don't even realize
You
that.
don't. When you're addicted,
Right.
and that's what we had mentioned, is when you eliminate it and then you bring it back in, you're gonna know right away. You know, I eliminate gluten and I do what we call a shred 10 once a month for 10 days. It's gluten-free, dairy-free, caffeine-free, alcohol-free, sugar-free. That seems like it might be a lot if you've never done any of those, but that 10-day period is a total reset. It's literally like holding down the power button on your computer and letting it refresh. And so then when you do decide to, for instance, add gluten back in, right now this time of year, as the pollen is really intense here in North Texas, when I add gluten, I notice my allergies immediately.
Oh my goodness.
My nose is plugged up, almost like. When I eliminate it, even just for a weekend, I can breathe. So that is a huge indicator. When you eliminate, you're gonna know. And then you have a choice. Is it worth the risk or is it not worth it? Like right now, this time of year, it's not worth it for me. You know, I can be ridiculously sneezing and running, or I can have no gluten and be fine. You know, so those are things that you notice when you start doing that. So I'd like to shift gears a little bit. The next topic we're gonna talk about is mindfulness, start where I am now, tapping into the rhythms of nature. So Lisa, how are you doing?
I was just gonna say, we're 30.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we have 15 left?
No, we have 30.
Oh, we have 30
minutes
left.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Great. So here are some tools to enlighten you about where you are right now. So some call this intuition. However, all of us have this. It's not a special sixth sense that just certain people are born with. Actually, everybody is born with it. And as we come out of the womb and get integrated into our families and then into society, we actually start forgetting. And so being mindful and being aware is this inner awareness, this sixth sense. And intuition is a practice of not deleting information, which is right before our very eyes. It's not this all of a sudden tapped in woo-woo thing where I have antennas and you don't. Everybody has it. But sometimes we are in such a space that we actually, well, let me ask you this. So what kind of car do you drive? Honda? What style?
I'm called.
An Accord?
No,
Do you
it used to be replaced.
Okay, but currently, do you see a lot of Honda Accords on the road?
Oh, yeah, the same color my car, and I get
Same
mixed up
color.
in the parking lot.
Okay, same color as your car. All right, what kind of car do you have?
A Nissan Murano.
Okay, and do you see a lot of Nissans out there?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
I'm not a car person, so I usually tune all cars out.
So you're deleting cars
Right.
anyway, okay. Can I ask you what kind of car you drive?
Oh, we have an Accord.
Okay, you have an Accord, that's so funny. So that doesn't serve well for our example because you both, but do you notice a lot of Accords out there?
Yes.
Isn't that interesting? Now, I recently bought a Toyota Prius. Until I bought my Prius, there was hardly any Priuses on the road. And then I bought my Prius and there's so many Priuses. Now, do you think really, one day later, all of a sudden more Priuses were on the road? No. It is my awareness to all the Toyota Priuses that are out there. And I would like to also probably suggest the Honda Accord thing too. You know, even though Honda Accord is a very popular make and model, you probably see a lot more Accords than I do. You know? So that is what I mean by not deleting. So that is where intuition comes in. There's not really any information out there that wasn't already there. But, okay, now I see the Nissan Murano. Oh, wait a second, there's another Nissan. You know, and so you're looking around and you're seeing more and more of these cars. And interestingly enough, they're the same color as his, his Honda Accord. You know, so that's just because our awareness is attuned there. Now, when I decide I'm going to upgrade my car, which I would like a Tesla, is my next car, I am going to start attuning my vibration into seeing all the Teslas on the road until my Prius is like, oh, this is going to be my daughter's car. I'm getting me a Tesla. I want full electric. You know, so when those things start to happen, then your awareness starts to expand, and that's your intuition. So women already seem to have more sense in that, in some reason. Now, no offense, guys, but I know that women seem to have a little bit more of a, maybe we are able to multitask a little bit more. Maybe it's a hunter versus gatherer, you know, fire. I'm going to make a fire versus I'm going to gather everything to make the meal, and you know, so that's kind of the mentality that we're just born into. So let's look at this on a more tangible level. First, let's turn our attention to what's already happening with nature and our moods. So moods seem to change with the seasons. Our moods mirror inside of us what's happening outside on the earth, in the earth, with the moon cycles, with the planetary cycles. And so I'd like you to explore with me for a moment, if you never have, or maybe this is a part of your practice. So we are all energetic beings. Can we agree that we are all simply energy contained in a dense vessel or container, our body, right? So we are each vibrating at a level that keeps us on this planet, thank goodness to gravity and the laws of physics. But can we all agree that everything is energy? And this is one of my favorite quotes. Everything is energy, and that's all there is. Match the frequency of the reality you want, and you cannot help but get that reality. It can be no other way. This is not philosophy, this is physics. So I know you see who said that. I was going to ask you who said that, but that's Albert Einstein. And interestingly enough, my son chose this quote, and he had it up in his room for a very long time. And then a friend of ours did a really beautiful pencil drawing of Albert Einstein, gave it to him for a gift, and then he decided to become a nuclear engineer for the U.S. Navy. So isn't that interesting? Those kind of, that the awareness was already there for him. He was already attracted to energy. Someone gifted him a painting or a drawing even, you know. So those kind of things, you tend to pull in things that you're attracted to into your reality because you're vibrating at that frequency. Does that make sense? Have you ever heard it explained that way? So, you know, everything on this planet has vibrations. Earlier before while I was explaining, we were talking about our necklaces. Like I have the pink quartz, you have the jasper, you have the coral with the shell. So they all have different vibrations. That's the beauty of wearing crystals, is because they do offer a really beautiful vibration on your body, and it helps to reset you. So that's another talk for another day. I have a whole talk on crystals. But so let's talk a little bit about discussing creating a journaling chart. This is an assignment for